Hi, third grade. I hope you're ready to dissect a flower because I know I am. I brought my hibiscus flower with me. Now, if you ask a neighbor politely, you'll see these all over your neighborhood. And just ask them, can you pick a couple of hibiscus? They are the parts are really big. They're easy to tell apart. They come in all sorts of beautiful colors: yellow, red, pink, coral. You can also go to the store and buy a big flower like a tulip, but I have these in my yard. Now, you probably remember that the main job of a flower is to reproduce, which means it's got to get the pollen from one flower to a flower somewhere else. Um, and if you look right here at the very top of this hibiscus flower, that's where the pollen hangs out. I'm going to see if I can tease some of that off onto this black cloth. This is my wife's glasses case. Hope she doesn't catch me doing this. Let's see if I can knock any pollen off. And you can see, boom, off it comes. That's also the stuff that's making you sneeze all over the place, right? All right, so anyway, there you can see the pollen, um, which sometimes the wind blows, but for flowers like this, these are designed to attract pollinators. All right, so let's start taking it apart. I went ahead and put the different names of the flower parts we've learned about: sepals, petals, the male parts, which are the stamen and the anther, and then the female parts, which are the stigma, the pistil, and the ovary. And then inside of the ovary are the eggs, which will become seeds. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start from the bottom up. Now, you may not have ever noticed because we pay attention to the pretty stuff up here, but the very bottom are what are called the sepals. Now, I went ahead and I also cut a bud off of the same plant. Let me get that nice and close to you. Now, the bud is sort of like where the flower is developing. It's not ripe yet. So, but when the bud opens, the sepals are what remain from the bud. So I'm going to go ahead with my fingers and I'm going to pull the sepals off. You can see they come right off. Just pull them downward. I'm going to put them by the word sepal over here, just so you can keep track of everything, all right? There go the sepals. Obviously, at the very bottom of the flower is the stem. Now, as you recall, the stem's job is to bring water and nutrients up to the flower. Okay, so I have to leave the stem on there. I forgot to bring scissors with me, so that's fine. I'm going to leave the stem right there. Now, next to the sepal are the petals. Now, again, it's easy to think about petals from a people standpoint and say, oh, well, they're beautiful and they make our house look nice and blah, blah, blah. And that is true, but that's not their job. Um, Pollinators, butterflies, hummingbirds, bees, most insects can see color. And because they can see color, the color of these petals helps them say, okay, that's a flower and not a leaf. So it attracts them to the right thing. Otherwise, they would be confused. They wouldn't be able to tell the difference between petals and leaves. So now, as much as I hate to do so, I'm going to go ahead and peel the petals off. And I'm going to put them in the stack called petals. This has 5 petals. Interesting. All of this particular type of hibiscus have 5 petals on their flowers. That's how you tell a hibiscus from a non-hibiscus. All right, good. Now, at the top of the flower, as we had noticed before, was the pollen, and that's because the male parts are at the top. They're at the top so that when a bee comes or a pollinator comes into the flower, it has to pass by the pollen so that it sticks to it. So I'm now going to go ahead and get a little cutting board out here, and I want to get as close to the camera as I can. Now, the stamen are these little tiny sticks. I don't know if you can see them. Some flowers have big stamen and a few. This has a whole bunch of stamen, and on top of the stamen is the anther. The anther is where the pollen is made, and the stamen holds the anther up. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to pick those off. They're little, so I'm just going to use my fingers, and I'm going to peel all of those off. You can see I'm sticking them over here, but you can't really, on a hibiscus, you can't really tell the difference between the stamen and the anther. Not easily, at least. Now I'm getting pollen all over my fingers because pollen is very sticky. Now you can sort of see the stamen a little bit better because I pulled some of the anthers off. Do you see them there? Okay. Now we're almost got all those male parts off. Remember the male parts are in charge of the pollen and the female parts are in charge of the eggs and the seeds. And it's kind of like it is with animals too, right? It's the females that have the eggs. So off come all these, and we've got it pretty bare. So now it's time to look into the female parts, and that's going to be amazing. Now, at the very top is what is called the stigma. Now, the stigma is designed to grab and stick. Oh, you couldn't see that, could you? The stigma are those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little pipes right there. You can't really tell that they're pipes, but those are the 5 little pipes that go down into the pistil. So the stigma, can you see that? So this is the stigma, and this is the pistil. It's the one long tube that's going to end up in the ovary. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the stigma off with my knife. There we go. I'm going to put it right there. And then I'm going to cut most of the way off of the pistil. And the pistil is really just a tube, okay? And I don't know if you can see it. Let's get as close as I can on my little webcam. Yep, I can see it. Good. You can see the tube there. There's a tube going all the way down in. Now, next trick. Now, this is tricky, and I can't get any closer just yet. I'm going to take my knife, and I'm going to slice the ovary right down the middle, all the way through it, all the way through it. And I'm going to leave it open. And just like that, can you see it? This is the ovary, and the ovary is where the eggs are located. And the eggs, of course, when the pollen touches them, will become fertilized and turned into seeds. Now, I don't know if I can find any individual eggs, and no, I can't. Can't see any individual eggs. Sometimes it depends on the plant. Sometimes the eggs are big enough to see with your eyes, and sometimes they're not. Let me try this other half. Yeah, look at that. See? See the tube? You can see the little tube there running right into the ovary, but I do not see. I'm going to cut this one more time open. We're going to put the ovary here. And I'm going to cut this one more time open just in case I can find some seeds in there for you. Remember, kids, the knife part is for a grown-up to help you with, okay? You can see now why it's important to have a big plant. No, I don't see any seeds. All right, so we just dissected a flower and broke it down into sepals, petals, the 2 male parts, and the 2 female parts. If you are able to do this, please take a picture and show me your different parts. I would love to see it. Okay, guys? And I will see you later. Bye for now.